Chapter 8 Soil. Introduction. What is under your feet when you play in a ground? What is necessary for most plants to grow besides water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight? Soil. Soil is one of the resources which is necessary for our survival. Soil consists of a mixture of weathered rock, finely ground into powder, minerals, and a variety of living and dead life forms. It forms a thin, nutrient-rich layer on the surface of earth in which plants are rooted. Soil contains all the nutrients needed by plants to survive. Some areas, such as deserts, have very poor soils. In these locations, it is difficult for complex plant life to exist. Tropical rainforests also have poor soils because most of the nutrients are already present within the living plants. In this chapter, we will learn about how is soil formed, profile and composition of soil, properties of soil, soil erosion, soil pollution. The Earth's soil has developed over millions of years. The forces of weather have ground the top rocky layer of the Earth into smaller and finer grains, and plant and animal life has helped to deposit nutrients. An important part of soil is the part that is alive. Many different bacteria, algae, and fungi do important jobs that make life possible. Without these basic life forms performing these important roles, more complex life forms could not survive. The soil beneath our feet has a darker color than the layer beneath it. This darker color is caused by the plants and animals, both living and dead, that are found within it. In other words, soil is the part of the Earth's surface consisting of humus and disintegrated rock. It is the material present in the top layer of the Earth's surface in which plants can grow.
Soil formation, weathering, physical and chemical. Over a very long time, a stony surface can be broken down by the forces of weather, such as rain and wind. This process is known as weathering. Weathering is a process of physical breakdown and chemical decomposition of rocks and minerals near or at the surface of the earth. This physical and chemical decomposition is primarily done by wind, water, and climate. As a result of these processes, large rock pieces are converted into smaller pieces and eventually forms the soil. Soil formation or pedogenesis is the combined effect of physical, chemical, and biological processes and activities of living organisms on the Earth's crust. Organic matter from living organisms and chemical substances from rocks get accumulated on the surface of Earth. These are moved by wind, water, and animals. This creates layers of soil at a place over a long time. This also accounts for the different nature of soil at different places.
Let us learn the formation of soil in detail.
Factors affecting soil formation. When trying to understand the formation of soil, we must take into consideration 5 key factors. These factors are geology, climate, topography, biology, and time. Geology. Geology refers to the type and composition of earth at a place. Climatic factors. Climate is one of the most important factors affecting the formation of soil. Warmer temperatures and an abundance of water have a tendency to speed up the formation of soil, whereas cooler temperatures and less precipitation slow down soil formation. As a result, warm, humid locations tend to have a richer and deeper soil than the cooler and more arid landscapes. Topographic factors. The up and down changes in hills, mountains and plains of a particular location is known as its topography. Topography has an important influence in how soils form. All soils on Earth are slowly getting deeper and deeper as lower levels of dirt are being turned into soil. At the same time, wind and water carry the surface soil away through erosion. In areas that are flat, the soil tends to get deeper quickly than the surface erodes away. On steep slopes, erosion usually takes place faster than the formation of new soil beneath. The result is that flat locations typically have a deeper, more mature soil layer than do locations with a steep slope. Thus, the first topographic factor in soil formation is steepness of hill and mountain slopes. The second topographic factor affecting soil formation is drainage, or in other words, how well the soil is able to get rid of extra water via draining. Most locations have excellent drainage, others become waterlogged. This water blocks oxygen, which is important for soil formation. Thus, in these locations, soil formation can become seriously hindered. Biological factors. Bio means life. Living organisms have an extensive impact on soil. It is estimated that about 45% soil is made of dirt, while almost 50% is made up of water and air. Only a small fraction is actually made up of living and dead life forms. However, these life forms play an important role in the soil. Roots from plants dig deep into the soil, creating passages for water and air. Animals such as ants, earthworms, rodents, and snakes dig and till the soil extensively. Plants and animals provide nutrients to the soil in the form of waste products and dead bodies. A variety of microorganisms perform important jobs in the soil that help to decompose living materials and deposit nutrients in soil. Time factors. Soil does not form overnight. In fact, soil formation can take thousands and in some cases even millions of years. Thus, time is an obviously important factor in soil formation. A newly exposed surface will have very little soil, while old surfaces will often have much deeper soil.
Soil profile. The nature of any soil depends upon the rocks from which it has been formed and the type of vegetation that grows in it. A vertical section through different layers of the soil is called the soil profile. Each layer differs in feel, texture, color, depth, and chemical composition. These layers are referred to as horizons. As we dig down into the ground, the soil composition changes. There are 4 distinct layers of soil under the leaf litter. The uppermost horizon is generally dark in color as it is rich in humus and minerals. The humus makes the soil fertile and provides nutrients to growing plants. This layer is generally soft, porous, and can retain more water. It is called the topsoil or the A horizon. On top of the soil, there is a thin layer of partially decomposed plant and animal residues. This is generally called leaf litter. This layer is home to many living organisms such as worms, rodents, moles, and beetles. Small plants are entirely dependent upon this layer since their roots remain embedded in the topsoil. The next layer has a lesser amount of humus but more of minerals such as iron, clay, aluminium, organic compounds. This layer is generally harder and more compact and is called the B horizon or the subsoil. The third layer has very little humus mixed with minerals. This layer is made up of small lumps of rocks with cracks and crevices, and it may accumulate more soluble compounds. This layer is known as the C horizon. Below the C horizon is the bedrock, which is hard and difficult to dig with a spade. This layer denotes the layer of partially weathered bedrock at the base of soil profile. Composition of soil. Soil is made up of an extensive variety of substances, minerals, and rocks. These substances can be categorized into 4 main groups. These groups are organic materials, inorganic materials, air, and water. Organic materials in soil. Organic matter makes up only a small fraction of the total materials in soil, yet it is extremely important. This organic material is made up of living organisms such as plants and animals, dead plants and animals, and nutrients that have come from decomposed plants and animals. The amount of life present in the soil is surprisingly large. If you pick up just a handful of soil from a ground, you will be holding billions of microscopic organisms in our hand. Imagine how many such organisms will be there in the entire soil on Earth. Inorganic materials in soil. The inorganic materials found in soils account for about half of the total mass of most soil. These inorganic materials take the form of sand, silt and clay and are commonly known as dirt. They form as rocks are eroded by the forces of weather, both wind and rain. Much of the sand and silt is small but visible grains of rock. However, some of it can become so fine that it is microscopic, especially in clay. Clay is an extremely important part of soil. Because of its porous nature, water is able to seep through clay with ease. Most clays have a negative charge, which attract positively charged particles suspended or dissolved in water. As a result, many important chemical reactions take place in clay. Air in soil. About half of the total mass of soil is made up of vast interconnecting cavities or holes. These holes are filled with both air and water. The amount of air and water filling these spaces varies throughout the year and from location to location. The air found in soil is very different from the air found in the atmosphere. The air in soils is not exposed to moving air currents and is much more moist or humid than atmospheric air. It also tends to be very rich in carbon dioxide and poor in oxygen. Oxygen is removed by living organisms and carbon dioxide is left behind. This carbon dioxide leaks out of the soil into the air as a part of carbon cycle. Water in soil. There is a lot of water present in soil. It may come from rain or rise up from the water table through clay. Many substances dissolve into water and are carried from one portion of the soil to another. Water makes chemical reactions in the soil possible and supplies microorganisms with the water necessary for life. Water leaves soil via evaporation as well as through drainage. Excessive water can rob soils of their nutrients by carrying them away to other locations. This process is known as leaching. The maximum amount of water that a soil can hold is known as the soil's field capacity. When a soil is at field capacity, it means that all available pores in the soil are already filled with water and there is no room for more water. In temperate areas where 4 seasons are experienced, it is not common for soils to reach field capacity during the winter, when low temperatures inhibit plants from using water and also decreases evaporation. Conversely, during summer, the opposite can take place. Plants require large amounts of water to survive, causing their roots to drain the soil's water supply. Increased evaporation also decreases water levels, creating a deficit where the soil has less water than it needs to support the organisms living within it.
When this happens, plants begin to wilt and animals begin to die.
Properties. Soil has some characteristics that form the basis for its classification into various types and also determine the types of crops that can be grown in it. The rate of absorption of water is different for different types of soils. This phenomenon of absorption of water by soil is termed as percolation. As we know, soil is formed by the weathering of rocks. The amounts of sand and clay depend on the rock from which the soil particles have been formed. Soils develop under a variety of conditions, hence the soil in one location can be very different from the soil in another location.
In order to understand soil and how one soil differs from another, scientists study the following properties of soil.
Percolation. The rate of absorption of a soil depends on its composition. The process of absorption of water by soil is known as percolation. Percolation rate milliliter per minute is equal to amount of water milliliter upon percolation time minute. Soil color. The color of soil can tell scientists a lot about it. There are over 170 different soil colors. Most of these are shades of black, brown, red, grey and white. Generally, the darker a soil is, the more nutrient-rich it is. The darker color often indicates an increase in decomposed organic matter known as humus. Grey soils often indicate poor drainage, while red color indicates very poor soils. These general rules about soil colors can, however, be misleading. Under certain conditions, a very poor soil can appear as dark black, while a rich, healthy soil can appear as red. Soil texture. Another easily experienced property of soil is texture. Pick up a pinch of soil between your fingers and rub it back and forth. You will quickly notice that the soil is made up of many different sized particles. These particles give the soil its texture. Some soils have more large particles and fewer small particles, while other soils have an abundance of small particles with few large particles. Few soils have an equal balance between small and large particles. These well-balanced soils are most healthy for plant life. Soil structure. In many soils, small lumps form as the particles cluster together. These are called dirt clods. These dirt clods become hard to form beds. These beds affect how easily water is able to move through the soil. They also affect the movement of animals and roots of plants. Beds tend to form more often in wet locations and less frequently in drier locations. Sandy locations, such as deserts, do not form any beds at all. Acidity versus alkalinity of soil. For survival, the plants need nutrients. The nutrients in soil dissolve in water, and this water is taken by the plant through roots. If a soil has too much acid in it, the nutrients in the soil will be dissolved too quickly and leach away as the water drains. If a soil is too alkaline, or in other words, if there is not enough acid, the nutrients will not dissolve quickly enough. Thus, a neutral soil which is neither too acidic nor too alkaline is preferred type of soil for plant life to thrive.
Types of soil. Soil is not similar everywhere. It is classified into various types based on the appearance and proportion of particles. The different types of soil include sandy, clay, and loamy. Sandy soil. If the soil is made of a greater proportion of big particles, it is called sandy soil. The sand particles are relatively large. They cannot fit closely together. Hence, there are large spaces between them. These places are filled with air. Therefore, in this type of soil, water absorption is very high as the water passes quickly through these spaces. These soils are light, well aerated and dry. Clay soil. It is made of a relatively high proportion of fine particles. These soils have very less space between particles. Because the particles are smaller in size, water can be trapped in the tiny gaps between them. Clay soils are heavy and can hold more water. Loamy soil. It is a mixture of sand, soil and silt. Silt particles are present between the particles of sand and soil. It also contains humus and is therefore considered the best for the growth of plants. The percolation rate is between that of sandy soil and clay soil. Soil suitability for crops. Climatic factors as well as the components of the soil determine the types of vegetation and crops that grow in a particular area. Cereals such as wheat and gram are grown in clay and loamy soils because these soils have better water retention capacity. Soils rich in clay and organic matter with good water retention capacity are ideal for paddy. Loamy soils, which drain water easily, are suitable for lentils and other pulses. For cotton, loamy or sandy soils are more suitable because of their water draining and air logging capacity. Soil erosion. Erosion is the wearing away of the land, earth's surface by water, ice or wind. Soil erosion is a natural process. It becomes a problem when human activity causes it to occur much faster than under natural conditions. Wind and water are the main agents of soil erosion. Plant roots firmly bind the soil. In the absence of plants, soil becomes loose, so it can be moved by wind and flowing water. Erosion of soil is more severe in areas of little or no surface vegetation, such as desert or bare lands. So, cutting of trees and deforestation should be prevented as it leads to increased soil erosion.
major causes. Soil erosion is caused by natural processes as well as by human activities. Natural processes.
The natural processes can be divided into geological erosion. This process takes place slowly over a long period of time. This starts with weathering of rocks. The smaller particles of rocks further undergo chemical and biological processes to further disintegrate into simpler soil particles. This process creates soils of different profiles at different places. Accelerated erosion. When soil is used for cultivation, the nutrients gets used up and the balance of vegetation and climate is disturbed. Thus, removal of surface soil by natural agencies takes place at a faster rate than it can be built up by soil forming process. Erosion occurring under these conditions is referred to as accelerated erosion. Its rate and magnitude are higher than those in normal geological erosion. Human activities. Deforestation. The process of cutting down large numbers of trees to use the land for other human activities is known as deforestation. Cutting down trees can affect the climate. After rain falls on a forest, mist rises and new rain clouds form. When forests are cut down, this cycle is disrupted and the area eventually grows drier, causing a change in the local climate. If huge areas of trees are cut down, the carbon dioxide they would have used builds up in the atmosphere and contributes to the greenhouse effect. And without trees to hold the soil and absorb water, rain washes topsoil away, a process called soil erosion. Prevention of soil erosion. Soil erosion can be prevented by planting more trees, afforestation, and checking indiscriminate cutting of trees, controlling deforestation.
Soil pollution. The persistent buildup of toxic compounds in the soil is defined as soil pollution. The main reason why the soil becomes contaminated is due to the presence of man-made waste. The waste produced from nature itself, such as dead plants, carcasses of animals, and rotten fruits and vegetables only adds to the fertility of the soil. However, our waste products are full of chemicals that are not originally found in nature and lead to soil pollution.
Causes of soil pollution. Industrial activity. Industrial waste lingers in the soil surface for a long time and it makes it unsuitable for use. Agricultural activities. Modern pesticides and fertilizers are full of chemicals that are not produced in nature and cannot be broken down by it. These accumulate in the soil, altering its composition and affecting the organisms living in it. Waste disposal. In addition to industrial, there is another way in which we are adding to the pollution. Every human produces a certain amount of personal waste products by way of urine and feces. Accidental oil spills. The chemicals present in the fuel deteriorate the quality of soil and make them unsuitable for cultivation. These chemicals enter into the groundwater through soil and also make the water undrinkable. Acid rain. Acid rain is caused when pollutants present in the air mixes up with the rain and fall back on the ground. The polluted water could dissolve away some of the important nutrients found in the soil and change the composition of the soil. Prevention of soil pollution. To prevent soil pollution, its causes must be controlled. Plastics and polythene bags destroy the fertility of soil. Hence, they should be disposed of properly and if possible, their use should be avoided. Some waste products from industries and homes pollute soil. These pollutants should be treated chemically to make them harmless before they are disposed. Other pollutants of soil include pesticides and insecticides. Therefore, excessive use of these substances should be avoided. Effects of soil pollution. The major effects of soil pollution include effect on human health. Crops and plants grown on polluted soil absorb much of the pollutants and then pass these on to us. Effect on growth of plants. It leads to decreased soil fertility. Toxic dust. The emission of toxic and foul gases from landfills pollutes the environment and causes serious effects on health of some people. It also changes in soil composition.